Virtual Reinhardt here with two-dimensional arrays. I'm going to walk you through some of the notes, how to make a two-dimensional array, how you can best visualize a two-dimensional array, and then I'll walk you through the assignment at the end. I'm going to quickly just reference the book. You might want to look at the book to help you understand and how to visualize what a two-dimensional array could be and could be used for, and also introduces you to some of the syntax, which, as you know, is where you're at programming-wise. If a new structure is thrown at you like this, your first question should be, well, how do I make it? How do I manage it? How do I reference it? All of those things, this can help. So take a look at that or have it open while you work. But here are the notes that we talked about in class. When you make a two-dimensional array, it looks very similar to a one-dimensional array, but there's two sets of square brackets. And then what you are doing with the numbers over here is how many rows, in this case 2, how many columns, in this case 3. But really, the way you should think about this is our two-dimensional array is an array, and its items happen to be an array. So in this case, I have an array of 2 items, okay? That means I have 2 arrays, and each of those arrays has 3 items. So more on that in a second. Adding things to that two-dimensional array looks similar to the one-dimensional, but you are putting things in a row and a column, okay? So this is the first array, really. The first array would contain 3, 4, 5, okay, at index 0. And this is array number 1, or the second array, and that array contains 6, 7, 8. So, all right, there we go, the bell. Another way to add items to a two-dimensional array is with an initialization list. So you can see I have, this array has actually the same setup as the one above. It has 2 items in it. Here's an item in this array. Here's an item in this array. And it so happens that both of those items are, in fact, arrays. So this would be item 0, 0. This would be item 0, 1. This would be item 0, 2. This would be item 1, 0. This would be item 1, 1. This would be item 1, 2. That's the two-dimensional array. So an array of arrays, that is what a two-dimensional array is. And nothing drives that point home more than the fact that when you call the length method for this array, you are asking how many arrays are there, okay? When nums2 is a two-dimensional array, so this would return 2. There are 2 things in this array. And then this would ask how many items are in the first array of that array. So this would return 3, okay? In order to print out items in an array, this is something you'll get very familiar with, this is a loop, okay? For loop, and it so happens that that for loop has a for loop in it that is a nested for loop. A loop, and it's looping a loop. So that means this inner loop is going to go this many times, okay? That loop will loop. The inner loop will loop the outer loop number of times. All right, keep going. This one is filling up a two-dimensional array with random values using my handy-dandy getRanInt helper method that is down below. That's what we talked about last time, okay? So that, and then just to show you that's possible. And finally, here's the answer to the assignment. So check this with your work. This is me creating a 3 by 2 two-dimensional array, 3 rows, 2 columns of strings. This is a loop to fill it from the keyboard. Notice the outer loop is going words.length times, okay, the number of items in words, and that's 3. And this one is going words of I.length times. That is the number of items in each array, and that would be 2. All right, it fills it, enters some words, and so that was part 1. Okay, declare it and fill it. The next part was use a nested for loop to print out a random letter from each string in words. That should say in words. Okay, and here is the solution to that. You are looping through words again. Okay, the two-dimensional array. You are looping through each array in that array, and you are generating a random number of this particular word. Okay, so that's why I take words of I, j dot length. That is the current string. Okay, and it's generating a random index using my helper method. So that is the first value I need for substring. This is the second value I need to use substring. Okay, and that is the second value I need for substring. That one is the index after it. And then I simply print out using substring those two values. So this is the random number. This is the value after that random number. And that is how you would get a random integer from the current word, or I'm sorry, a random character from that current word. Of course, you could have used charat, and that's what it looks like when you use charat. So that is the solution to 8.2 two-dimensional arrays.